Hey, what's up guys, my name is Charlie. Today we're going to be reacting to some more Nostalgia Critic, and it's going to be AI Artificial Intelligence. Oh yes, this movie is totally awesome. I actually enjoyed this movie very much, mostly because it had, who was that kid? Joel Osmond or something like that. He was in The Sixth Sense and AI Artificial Intelligence, and what else was he from? He was also from Forrest Gump, that's it. From what I remember, this movie was totally awesome. It's something I've watched over and over and over. It's not something I've watched once, it's something I've watched multiple times. And I don't know why I keep coming back to this movie. It's a bit like a phenomenon, or phenomenon, however the hell you pronounce that word. It's just strange because I keep drifting to this movie every year or so. But yeah, it's a good movie. I enjoy it. I know a lot of people don't like this movie. A lot of people do. It's a bit slow, bit long, but yeah, it's not really action packed. It's not like iRobot or something like that, with Will Smith or anything. But I do enjoy it. It's a slow paced movie. It's totally cool. What more could I say? It's a good movie for me anyway. But yeah, let's see what Nostalgia Critic has to say about the movie, shall we? Let's go. Why do I have a feeling he's gonna hate this movie? Let's go.
Next on TMZ, our crack team of journalists uncover the most important news.
Kim Kardashian, shoes 2 weeks old.
This is the biggest news since man walked on the moon.
Oh,
my word.
TMZ, we're really important.
Jennifer Love Hewitt has cellulite. Cellulite!
Andrews, new front page. Jennifer Love Hewitt shows cellulite. She cares nothing for the world.
I am also offended.
TMZ, your life would be nothing without us.
Brad Pitt taking his kids to school.
So what, do you think he's like a person or something? Like he can just live life like the rest of us?
TMZ, you'll need to know this or you'll die.
Now let's see if our newest member has anything to say. Nostalgia Critic, what do you got?
Is it time for commercial yet?
Go to commercial. Oh boy. I don't know, I'm just getting that nostalgic sort of spidey sense that he's gonna be shitting all over this movie. Which is alright. I mean, that's what he does. He's a critic, he's supposed to find bad things in movies and complain about them.
These are the exact same
TMZ
instructions you give a
guidelines.
prostitute.
Oh,
And Mr. Critic, isn't this much better than mocking us on your website?
Yeah, well, it was very kind of your people to get in contact with our people and let us know that you didn't like the way we represented you. It's good to know that an industry that mocks so
Trying to read
many
the
has such a
stickers.
thick,
not
non-hypocritical skin themselves.
fear
Well, I'm
death.
just glad you took our offer to come down here for a day and see that we conduct very important, very serious work.
I thought I'd take a chance and hope that one of us could
It'll
learn the
be
meaning
over
of the word
soon.
fair. So I guess it was too
Reading
optimistic to assume
stickers.
both of us would.
Don't look them in the
Jennifer
eye.
Lopez was caught with nose hairs.
Take me back from my keyboard!
They're
It's
not
not easy
human.
representing someone, let alone their work. Maybe Steven Spielberg should have thought that when he took over Stanley Kubrick's long-awaited fairy tale. And this was no easy task. Kubrick, director of A Clockwork Orange and 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Spielberg, fuck, y'all know who he is, were as far on the opposite ends of the directing spectrum as you could possibly get. Kubrick was cold and dark. Spielberg was whimsical and enchanting. Kubrick was slow and eerie. Spielberg was peppy and upbeat. Stylistically, they were practically nothing alike. The only thing the two did seem to have in common is that, at times, they surprisingly envied each other. Spielberg often longed to be that art house risk-taker that Kubrick was, and Kubrick often longed to be the audience-pleasing sentimentalist that Spielberg was. So when Kubrick was going through years and years and writer after writer perfecting his vision of what he would call his sci-fi version of Pinocchio, he felt he didn't have the talent to pull off the emotional heart needed and handed directing over to Spielberg while Kubrick would produce it. Spielberg thought he didn't have the talent to pull off the calculated artistry needed and handed it back to Kubrick while he would produce it.
Being friends for years, they each made the argument that the other was better to direct. Until Kubrick finally caved in and said after his film Eyes Wide Shut, AI would be the next film he would do.
And just to make things even more complicated, Kubrick died. So Spielberg thought it best that he bring the legendary director's masterwork to life himself, resulting in the awkward, unfocused, and confused little train wreck we all know as AI.
Okay. AI. It was a bit of a history lesson there. Jesus, I hate history.
With the style of two totally different directors being juggled, this film is about as big a mess as you can imagine. As you find yourself paying less attention to
enjoy
the
it.
story
Some bits
and
are
instead
really
focusing
bad,
more on,
but
is that a Kubrick move or a Spielberg move? And instead of being one artist's great masterpiece, we get visual backwash and
It's
emotional
like a troll.
hand-me-downs to replace raw feelings and ideas. So, let's see how the Master of Heart represents the Master of Art. This is AI. So we open the story about a human robot with Hollywood's own human robot, William Hurt.
I love you, wife.
He plays the head of a business that makes androids, and he's looking to create an android that's actually capable of love.
I propose that we build a robot child who can love, a robot child who will genuinely love the parent or parents it imprints on with a love that will never end.
Interesting idea, raising a lot of interesting questions. How do you program love? Can it be programmed? What's the difference between love and desire? Is there a difference? Can it be technically defined? And if it can't, can you assume you can properly create it? Does love only work if it's shared equally? All of these questions and more will be thrown to the kind of category, as we have to establish this future that clearly exists only to justify our characters' idiot moves. For example, in this post-apocalyptic world, yeah, it's about as post-apocalyptic as a Betty Crocker commercial, pregnancy must be sanctioned to keep population under control after the ice caps melted. This is rough, seeing how one couple has to keep their child frozen because he's suffering from "we need to keep you out of the first 20 minutes" itis. And thus they seem like the perfect parents to try out their new boy toy.
Oh boy,
I like your floor.
don't say that.
This is David,
It's
played
not
by
right when you say it
Jesus,
like that.
You're Scary, Haley Joel Osment, who's been allowed to be their son.
This imprinting is irreversible. The robot child's love would be sealed, in a sense hardwired, and would be part of him forever.
Yeah. Great plan, right? I mean, can you see anything going wrong with this idea? Ethical scarring, emotional crippling? Me? I just see playing catch.
Don't imprint until you're entirely sure.
Now, what you might notice very quickly is that Spielberg has done a pretty decent job recreating the cinematography of Kubrick's work. It actually mirrors a lot of techniques that Kubrick has done in the past.
Oh, I know Kubrick used it once in a while, so people will call me a genius when I use it all the time.
What he hasn't captured, though, is the editing or the tone. Kubrick would let a lot of his shots go on for a while. filling
Yeah,
a
it
comfortable
drags
mood and
on.
allowing you to
I said
enjoy
that at
the
the beginning of
visuals
the
or
video.
movement. But
It really
Spielberg
does
cuts his
drag on
shots
some
just like any
parts.
other movie,
But
making
still,
his
it's
way for
decent.
quirky scenes like this, which very likely would not end up in a typical Kubrick production.
It's pretty creepy, yeah. Ooh. It's learning.
Yeah,
Oh
I think
god.
if Kubrick was directing this, we all know how this scene would go.
Oh, Jesus. That's what they should have done, turn it into a horror.
me, mommy.
But it's okay. David finally finds a way to win over his mother's
He
affection.
laughs. Oh, Jesus. How vivid is this?
What?
That
You
was
would
so
shit
quick.
your pants and throw the fucking thing away? Well, not our mother. She figures that's enough to push the "I love you forever" button, which programs the child
Question
to
is,
never
why
stop
did he
obsessing
laugh?
over her till the
Was
end
he
of his
trying to
days.
understand
Boy,
human
if they knew
nature?
that was the selling point for most parents, they'd have them laugh at even more things. Hey, David, look! Keys! A housing foreclosure! Crash! Tracy Morgan!
Tracy
keeper.
Morgan.
So David is now programmed to love only his mom. But not his dad so much, seeing how he never refers to him as dad.
Hello, David.
Hello, Henry.
Ouch!
Oof.
Might as well change his name to "I'm not your sperm." David also gets a new playmate, a little toy named Teddy.
Yes.
Hello, David.
Why does that create uncomfortable flashbacks?
Reminds me of that teddy bear killer episode we saw.
This is the
Yeah,
end.
that's it. That's what I was thinking of.
My
Comic book.
cuddly friend, the end. This is the end.
Yeah, this is the one I remember.
David, Teddy is
Yeah,
a
boy.
super toy, and I know you'll take good care of each other.
I am not a toy. Teddy is my slave name. You may call me Cuddly Kinte.
But that pesky real son wakes up and apparently is not thrilled about his robotic replacement. Doing terrible things like forcing his mother to read horribly ironic stories.
His favorite being Pinocchio.
Pinocchio.
David's going to love it.
But David ends up liking the story, particularly the part about where the Blue Fairy turns Pinocchio into a real boy. But Pipsqueak McPimplefuck constantly reminds him that he's not a real boy. So, fighting for his mother's attention, he tries eating spinach to convince that he is real.
He really is crazy if he's got to eat spinach. That stuff is disgusting. Yeah, his face
Is that
face
observation
melts.
from Teddy or a threat?
I must break you.
Yeah, Rocky. Fucking Rocky Russian.
Martin, you're provoking him.
David, stop it!
Yeah, the face melts. It's totally awesome. Look at that. It's like
Oh
fucking
no,
Terminator.
they use Photoshop smear. We need heavy-duty Mario Party for this. He gets fixed up, but schemy McWeasel bitch has yet another plan.
I want a lock of Mommy's hair. I'll share it with you. And if you had it and wore it, she might love you even more.
The ranger isn't
That
gonna
kid
like
is
this,
fucked up.
Yogi.
He tries cutting off the hair, but ends up looking like a poster child for Lizzie Borden's barber school, which ends up getting the parents concerned.
If he was created to love, then it's reasonable to assume he knows how to hate. And if pushed to those extremes, what is he
Love can
really
turn
capable
into
of?
hate, yeah, so.
And more importantly, why did not the scientists putting him together ever think of this? Why is it every story where someone wants to play God, they're always like, those questions will just go away? Why does nobody in movies ever think of the consequences?
Consequences, consequences, as long as I'm rich.
But through misunderstanding number 20,
With
David
all
becomes afraid of
technology,
some bullies, hides behind his
we
brother,
learn
and they
as
both
we
fall
make
into the
mistakes.
pool, resulting in his brother almost getting killed. So I guess it's finally time to bring him in and have the scientists look at a lot of these kinks going on, huh? Nope, nuke him.
Nope.
Yeah, no, there's no other alternative. He's gotta die. Just hop in your mechanical hot dog and tell him we're taking a trip to the liquidation
Mechanical
factory.
hot
Come on,
dog.
it's an easy choice. It's not
It's
like
not a
anybody
hot
would
dog.
grow attached to him with his big puppy dog eyes, innocent smile, and will to love past the end of time. I mean, Jesus, what if kids in the 90s had to get rid of their Furbies the exact same way?
Jesus, this is still around
I'm
those
sorry, son,
Furbies.
but you read the instructions. Once he starts malfunctioning, he has to be bludgeoned to death as violently as possible.
But I love it.
Oh, now
Jesus.
don't tell me you want to see the therapist again.
Where are we going? What's for dinner tonight?
Tell me about the rabbits, George.
I have to leave you here.
No. No, 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 no. No, Mommy, please, no.
No,
Mark
no,
and
I have to
are
go.
It's kind of a sad scene.
Stop it! Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. This emotional meat tenderizer to your nads is not warranted. There's a bajillion other ways around this. Reprogram him, change the settings,
Yeah,
wipe
so
his
many.
memory, adjust his abilities, be more specific in your commands. Nothing about this makes any sense. I think the only way it would make even less sense is if Batman showed up and said,
I pulled his brother into the pool.
Maybe she had to destroy
and if his mother loved him so much, she
because
wouldn't
they
leave
were
him to
forcing
roam
her
alone in
'cause
this
he was
dangerous world
malfunctioning?
she's sorry she never taught him about. She would
There's
know
no
it's
explanation.
much worse to leave him alive knowing he'll never see her again than
Yeah.
it is just to shut him off. I mean, come on, Spielberg. Cooper covered his tracks better than this. I mean, what human being would be so absent-minded and so cruel?
Okay, people, story time.
Duty calls.
Timbe! We dedicate our
Oh,
lives to
fucking
make sure you
TMZ.
have
Come on.
fun.
What's the
Alright,
TMZ
I
jokes
was digging
again?
through Leonardo.
I get it.
garbage,
TMZ
and I found
sucks, but
Donald.
seriously, does this... What's this got to do with the review?
Obviously. Obviously, someone's in financial difficulties.
Ba-da-ba-ba, I'm bombing it.
Come on, Nostalgia Critic, stay on topic here.
TMZ, Weasley's what you need.
Guys, I have a picture of Natalie Portman with a mustard stain on her shirt.
Shun her! We must shun her! Put that picture on the front page! The people must know!
Food saying no.
I have the power!
TMZ! Watch us, you dumbasses, watch us!
Crick, what do you got?
Oh, well, I did find a story here that Sandra Bullock... Sandra Bullock will be honored for donating $25,000 to the Warren Essen Charter High School, which was destroyed in Hurricane Katrina. Oh, she also opened an on-campus health clinic there as well. You say what you want about her shitty movies, but that's pretty cool, right? I mean, that's really big of her.
Chick's fat.
What?
Chick's really fat. Mr. Norton, new front page. Sandra Bullock, ballooning the blind side of her backside.
Alright, we get TMZ sucks, I agree, but come on. What's this got to do with the fucking movie review?
Oh, folks, dear Brutus lies not in our stars, but in
Get
ourselves.
to the movie review.
We trend to the end!
Miss Lewis, what's wrong?
Oh.
For a second, thought about doing real journalism, respecting my job, and contributing something important to people's lives.
Miss Lewis, pull yourself together. Your job is bullshit. If you don't report Emma Watson possibly having a double chin, then who will?
But I...
Just swallow your dignity and remember, you have no soul to lose.
True.
Okay, I'm good.
I lost my soul on Saturday.
Hey, we're cool! Really,
After watching
we're
the
cool!
fucking Titanic, that cartoon.
So we cut to what I like to call movie 2, because, yeah, from this point on, it is pretty much an entirely different movie. Where we
Yeah,
see
it is,
Jude
ain't
Law
it?
playing a prostobot. He's in trouble because he's framed for a murder by a jealous ex-lover, and thus is on the run. Because apparently, even though it's explained very clearly that none of these robots are able to have feelings, they do seem to have a need for self-preservation. And a need to form opinions. And a need to be sarcastic. And a need to have distinct personalities. And a need to adapt. And a need to change. And a need to interact. And a need to survive. And a need to help. And a need to protect. And a need to fight. And a need to lie. And a need to deceit. And a need to want. And a need to desire. And a need to do just about anything a goddamn human being emotionally needs to do. But just to emphasize again, none of them have any emotional feelings whatsoever.
Maybe it's just instinct programming, so...
Yeah, and Mel Gibson just drinks a little too much coffee.
He does? Newsflash!
So David comes across a bunch of robot zombies.
Robots.
Which, if that's not a thing...
That needs to
somebody
be a
make
thing.
that a thing.
Yeah, robot zombies.
But they see a bad moon rising, which are actually representatives of a flesh fair. A gathering of people who hate robots and take ones who are no longer owned and destroy them.
Yeah, definitely a JonTron, not JonTron.
Okay, I know we're trying to hammer in the
colour
whole
lights.
fairy tale thing,
What the fuck
but
did I say JonTron for?
really?
Got JonTron
This is
on
what
my
we're doing
mind.
for Chased by Wolves? Is this really the best you
Tron.
got? Because if you're gonna do that, why don't you just make Little Red Riding Hood a gang on the east side with red hoodies? Just posing for the camera to show off that effect? Okay. So they get caught in a net. Yeah, apparently the super strong robot's greatest weakness is a net. As they drag him to the last place they want to go to. Welcome to the Kubrick-Spielberg collaboration, everybody! Doesn't it look exactly how you thought it would look? Oh, the artistic majesty. Oh, the visual wonder. Oh, the... Chris Rockbot?
You kind of shoot me over the propeller thing? Yeah, I don't need to go through it. I was considering it, but I changed my mind.
Okay, Mr. Spielberg, I'm not gonna act like I'm the biggest aficionado on Stanley Kubrick or anything, but I'm just gonna take a wild guess. A wild fucking guess! That Stanley Kubrick, the director of 2001, A Clockwork Orange, The Shining... He would put a Chris Rockbot in there!
Oh, you never
I
know.
mean, did you really think that was part of the great master's vision? Really? Was one of the agreements that you guys talked about in making this film for years that it cannot be made unless the essential Chris Rock bot was in there? Just somewhere, anywhere, the whole entire thing would crumble if... Really? A Chris Rock bot?
Maybe it was like
Maybe
reincarnation
Stanley
in a
Kubrick
way.
was a big Chris Rock fan. I mean, who knows?
Sort of
Maybe he could use
like
him in
a
other
Chris
films
Rock
if he was
robot.
around back then.
Maybe they thought it was so
Open the
funny
pod bay
that
doors,
they
Hal.
recreated him as a robot.
Open the doors.
No!
What's the problem?
Crack-a-lacka, you got to go!
What are you talking about, Hal?
I gotta get this part right, or I'm gonna have nothing but shitty movies for the rest of my life!
Hal, I won't argue with you
No,
anymore.
I don't think you understand. You got to go!
Hal?
Stand up!
Hal?
Stand up!
Hal?
Stand up!
I'll go in through the emergency airlock.
What do you want, a cookie?
I mean, it's lazy. It's so fucking lazy. I mean, what
Yeah,
would actually
it is
work?
silly.
Meeting, everyone.
But I can see his
Sometimes I wonder if
using
Spielberg
robots
even
as a form
understands
of
what it means to represent
immortality.
someone fairly.
Like
All right,
500
guys,
years
because
from
there's so
now,
many
someone
important
making
topics to get
a
out there, I thought it'd be
Charlie
best if we
robot or
select our
something.
stories a little faster. So I'm going to hold up a picture of a celebrity. And if I think we should do a story on it, then let out a collective grunt. And if you don't think we should do a story on a celebrity, then just shake your head no.
That's a great idea. Yeah, we'll be able to get through more stories this way.
All right.
William Shatner, Will Smith, and all that. Jesus. Oh, Jesus.
Now that's what thought-provoking news is all about, right, guys?
Sorry, I got a scratchy nose. It's just constantly itchy. Bloody allergies. Allergic to the nostalgia critics bullshit TMZ constantly
So
roasting
we
them.
return back to the Flesh WWE Monster Truck Anti-Gay Marriage Fair when somebody thinks David shouldn't be there.
You're Rashid.
My name is David.
Impossible.
Well, not really.
Why? He looks like every other robot there, at least the ones that look human. Is it because there's never been a robot child before? 75 years at least of androids and there's never been a robot child?
Maybe it was forbidden.
Chris Rock bot was more important to make than a robot child? I'm sorry, unless he's a machine that also turns water to absinthe, I wouldn't buy him.
I said let go. I'm trying.
Don't let go. Keep me safe. Don't let go.
Suit yourself.
But just when it looks like David and his prostibot are about to go to Silicon Heaven, the audience finds they just can't do it.
Don't make me die. I'm David. I'm David. I'm David.
Mecca don't plead for their lives?
Oh, really? Did you not hear the comedic pleads of the Chris Rock bot? I'm sorry, I know I'm dwelling, but really, what was that? So they let him go and the prostibot follows along. His new mission? To find the blue fairy. Rather than the
Find the blue
prostibot just tell
fairy.
him, oh, I don't know,
Find
there's
the
no
fucking
such
blue
thing.
meth.
He says the answer lies in a perverted little town known as Rouge City. They go through, let's face it, the most awesome shot in the movie.
Reminds me of like Plateau Mars, whatever the hell that movie was.
And hitch a ride all the way down to
Platoon or something,
PG-13
whatever.
land. A place
Platoon.
that never would have existed in Kubrick's world. That's right, all of your wildest fantasies mildly realized. Oh, look at how sort of stimulating that is. Oh, look at how kind of erotic that
It must be
turns
like
out.
Plateau Mars, whatever it was.
Hey,
It was
look,
like Eddie
that
Murphy or something.
almost looks like a nipple.
Can't remember.
Almost! And because the internet apparently doesn't exist in this future, all of your questions have to be answered by a distracting Robin Dr. Wiley Williams performance.
Starving minds. Welcome to Dark
Yeah, I
Unknown,
remember this.
where fast food for thought is served up 24 hours a day in 40,000 locations nationwide.
Question 1. Explain these. I don't... But Dr. Google, it appears, doesn't seem to have the answers that David is looking for.
Where is Blue Fairy?
In the garden. Vascostylis blue fairy. Blooms twice annually with bright blue flowers on a branched inflorescence.
What he should have said is,
Come on,
where
just
is
a
blue
few
meth?
years after this movie came out, we got the greatest search engines possible. And this incredible
Breaking Bad.
future thing can't even tell if it means a flower, a story, or whatever? God, let's be the AOL of search engines. But they finally ask the right question and figure out that the Blue Fairy apparently is at the factory where David was created. All the way in New York City.
Well, the ice
Strange
caps are
office
sort of
location,
destroyed the
don't you
world.
think? Is the commute difficult for workers there? Hey Frank, going to destroyed ruin number 5 again? Nah, I think I'm upgrading to dangerously unstable rubble number 3. You know, looking to move up in the world. But David goes inside the factory and searches for himself. Sort of.
Are you real? I'm David. You're not. Yes, I am. So am I. Let's be friends.
Creepy.
But I'm sure kind, loving David will find it in his heart to find that he's unique in his own wonderful way.
Ooh. Jesus. Fucking Skynet's taking over.
Though I know I'm a machine, I never realized they could build another one of me. Why is so much obvious logical information left out of my memory banks? Why?
David.
Well, it's a personality
But
crisis,
the bland
so...
bot comes in and explains that everything that's happened to him was all part of the plan.
The ability to chase down our dreams. And that is something no machine has ever done until you. Until you were born, robots didn't dream, robots didn't desire unless we told them what to want.
Your ability to want nothing but your mother, even after you were programmed to want nothing but your mother, is a breakthrough?
Good point.
You are the first of a kind.
My brain is falling out.
Team is anxious to talk to you. I want you to wait here. I'll gather them up.
Yes, after killing your robotic double, destroying the room, and looking completely brain-raped, I'll leave you here completely alone and unattended. What could go wrong? Well, how about this? David throws himself off the building into the water, where, quite fucking coincidentally, he finds a statue of the Blue Fairy at an amusement park.
Of course.
Oh, after being
Welcome to
guided there by a
Disneyland.
school of fish, of course. I don't know.
I don't know, it's just being whimsical,
Prostobot gets
magical.
busted by authorities using a magnet, which doesn't suck up David for some reason. And David makes his way to the Blue Fairy statue, where he spends the rest of his days following a dream, hoping it'll come true.
Like most humans. Most
Even,
humans try to
you
follow
could
a dream.
argue, creating faith, possibly even a religion, thus making him much less human, but also even more human, drawing his journey to a close.
Oh boy, here we go. It still goes on. The movie show must go on. It still goes on.
$2,000 later.
Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah. Don't act like you don't know
The
what
fucking
happened.
aliens
Even
arrived.
people who haven't seen the movie know about the infamously horrible continuation of a story that everyone in the world said should not continue. It would have been fine if they just left him in front of the Blue Fairy. Everyone would have said, yeah, it had problems, but you know what? It could have been worse. Well, this is the worst they're talking about. And it's not just the fact that it continues when it shouldn't, it's the fact that it gives the lamest, the schmaltziest, preschool-friendly middle finger to anyone who may have possibly liked this movie even a little.
I liked
You
it.
all know
Still
what it
like
is,
it.
but just for the hell of it, let's go over it.
Yeah.
Aliens arrive.
Aliens, yes.
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. Robots that are never clarified as robots unless you read the script. And
Well, maybe
discover
the aliens
David
were
2,000
humans. Who
years
knows? They
later,
maybe
frozen in
evolved
ice.
over 2,000
yeah,
years.
apparently his
Genetics
circuits and
or something.
programming survived all that time. The longest lasting in human creation. Just don't feed him spinach. And with their super not alien powers, they create a world for David to live in just like his home.
It's a
and
bit
get this,
goofy, but
even the Blue Fairy is there.
You have been searching for me, haven't you, David?
Now, if you still somehow manage to stay in your seat after this information was made aware to you, I urge you not to turn around because you probably noticed rows and rows of empty seats and threatening
This
letters
movie
written in
sucks.
nosebleed blood, as that was the only thing that could serve as ink at the time.
Will Mommy be coming home soon?
She can never come home.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
Because 2,000 years have passed, and she is no longer living.
Yes, our technology only extends to blue fairy science. We can bring inanimate wood to
Maybe it's a
life
hologram.
and give it
You
a
never know.
personality based on your memory, but the one thing that takes up the most of your fucking mind we can't materialize for some reason. We're kind of dumb not aliens that way.
We can bring back other people from your time in the past.
Why can't you bring back her?
Need
Because
DNA
we can
sample.
only bring
Teddy's
back
got
people whose
hair,
bodies
don't
we
worry.
dig up from the ice.
You'd think the hair would
We need
sort of
some
decay
physical
after
sample
2,000 years, wouldn't you?
Like a bone or
Here
a
it is.
fingernail.
Teddy bear's got
Oh
the
yeah,
hair.
because the enchanting fairy tale atmosphere is really completed with talks of DNA samples and scientific reanimation. God, a fucking blue fairy is saying this!
I know, it's silly.
Do you remember when you cut some of Mommy's hair?
Oh,
Yep.
tell me Teddy doesn't have it. Tell me Teddy doesn't have it. Oh,
There it is.
does,
I never
he
understood how it
does.
survived 2,000 years. It
Kinda
just-
sick, actually, but I won't question the motives behind a children's toy who doesn't have motives, remember? No
well, they were
feelings.
frozen
We clarified
underwater, I
that.
guess, so it could have been preserved.
Her back.
Your wish is my command.
Sort
So
of like
joy
no
of joys,
oxidation.
the blue fairy can bring Mommy back, right? Well, listen to this horsecock.
Those who were resurrected only lived through a single day of renewed life. If we bring your mother back now, it will only be for one day.
Maybe the one day.
Just make a clone of
Maybe
a
it will
clone of
last
a clone of
forever.
a clone.
If you still manage to stay in your seats after this information was made aware to you,
Yeah,
I
it
urge
is
you again,
silly.
please don't turn around because chances are you be seeing the hanging dead corpses of the film custodians. The owner of the theater? Hell, maybe even the people who made the popcorn. I don't know, just whoever they could find.
We only want for your happiness.
Then you know what you have to do.
Listen, can you hear that? Go to her, David.
Oh, so they already brought her back to life. They were just fucking with him by giving him the option.
See, they got human
said no, would they
faces,
have
so
eaten her or
I'm
something?
thinking the aliens are humans, just evolved 2,000
She
years.
wakes
Maybe
up in
they
a Folgers commercial
did genetics,
and they intend to spend the
evolved
whole
their
day
species,
together as if it was her
sped up
last
the process,
because, yeah, that's the gist
and they
of it.
forgot they were humans.
David had never had a birthday party because David had never been born. So they baked a cake and lit some candles.
Now make a wish.
It came true already.
I know, it's so silly. It's a fairy tale. Come on.
If you still manage to stay in your seats after this information
It's
was
so
made
stupid,
aware
I
to
know.
you, I desperately urge you, do
Oh,
not turn around and look behind you, because chances
Okay.
are your theater is
Get
on
it.
fire. I don't know if you remember the great AI theater burnings of 2001, but it cost many moviegoers their lives. Yet the causers of the fire still got a refund.
And for the first time in his life, he went to that place where dreams are born.
And Teddy? Well, fuck Teddy. He's not real like David. He's just a bear.
He's
a bear who
he's
wanted
just
to
a
make
toy.
David's dreams come true, even though he doesn't want anything, technically, because he's just a machine who cares about what David wants, while not caring what David wants. Jesus, this is stupid! This is
I know,
stupid
there's
thing
so
that
many
you could ever
questions.
give to a movie like this! I mean, by God! Were you even thinking? Were you even thinking? And we all know who's to blame, right? We all know exactly who's to blame for this schmaltzy crap. Spielberg. He's the culprit. We all know it. It's got to be Spielberg. I mean, obviously Kubrick would have ended it under the water and Spielberg added that last 15 minutes. There's no other explanation. Like, just look at it here. Just look at it here. Yeah, there you go. The writers who were originally working on AI all thought it was crazy when Kubrick wanted to bring David's mother back. What? That ending was Kubrick's idea. In fact, most of the original writers thought it wouldn't work. But Spielberg did his best to work with him and get across the idea he had in mind. So, Kubrick's to blame for that ending? The Stanley Kubrick? The Shining, A Clockwork Orange, Paths of Glory?
Maybe there's a deeper
He's
meaning
the
to
one
it.
that put
Maybe
together the
the
incredibly
road,
sappy
it
ending?
wasn't a real ending. Maybe he was still stuck in the war. He was just daydreaming. That's why he
In
was
the end,
dreaming in his head.
Kubrick was trying to make that Spielberg movie he never could. Which ironically resulted in Spielberg making that Kubrick movie he never could. The film is so disjointed and all over the place, and clearly not one vision. But
No,
at the
it's
same
a lot of
time,
answers that need to be
bringing
answered.
that vision to life, even
A lot
though
of
so many
questions.
people were against it. Just to make a close friend's dream come true. Maybe he understood Kubrick better than we thought he did. Maybe he understood him better than any of us did. Maybe representing a person's work and representing a person himself are more similar than we realized.
Who's that
Oh
guy?
god, not the TMC.
Oh, well, that's Stanley Kubrick, sir.
Kubrick. I know that name.
Oh, well, you should. He directed 2001: A Space Odyssey, A Clockwork Orange, The Shining, just to name a few.
And, what are you looking up about him?
Oh, just how Steven Spielberg and him were friends, and how he directed a movie for him after he died, and how they might have actually been closer to each other than a lot of people gave him credit for.
That sounds pretty good. Do you mind if we use that for the topic of this week's show?
Sure, go for it. Well, goes to show you again. Some people can, in fact, surprise you in the end.
Next TMZ, where Stanley Kubrick and Steven Spielberg gay for one another? Look out, Bert and Ernie!
So my research shows that these two are all over each other.
How can Spielberg be all over that fat blob?
Well, it's easier to understand than half his crappy movies.
Yeah, hello, 2001? I mean, like, if I can't understand it, then that means it sucks.
What a hack!
Hey, Critic, what are you doing?
Well, you guys have opened my eyes. You've shown me that nothing is sacred. I mean, by God, if you can take Stanley Kubrick, one of the greatest directors of all time, and make a story about him like that, I have no choice. If you can't beat him, join him.
Oh boy. Yeah, it looks like a decent camera. Webcam thingy that you keep. What do you call it? A camcorder, that's what you call those. Oh, so with the fucking TMZ.
Well, everyone, in light of the critic's recent breakthrough, I think it's only fair that we let him go first, okay? You got some good stuff for us, Critic?
Oh, I do, yes. I have drunken outbursts, sexual affairs, cross-dressing, some of the sauciest stuff I've ever had to record.
Well, that all sounds pretty steamy, Critic. How did you get so much footage of people doing such rotten stuff?
Oh, it was quite easy, actually. I just followed all of you.
What?
Yeah, for example, Mr. Aaron, I got some lovely snapshots of you cheating on your wife. Oh, don't laugh too much there, Mrs. Adams. You're the one he's having the affair with. And Miss Lewis, who can forget that enchanted evening that I recorded not 24 hours ago?
You were amazing.
Fuck.
And our dear beloved boss. Take a look at what I recorded when you thought you were alone in what you thought was a closed office.
Eh. Not shocking. A lot of people do that.
Yeah, not so hot when the 2-week-old shoe is on the other foot, is it? But you want to know who the biggest idiot of them all is? This guy right here.
I agree.
Yeah, all because of what he thought of this. I used to hate this movie. I mean, really despise it. I thought this was the worst representation of a director simply by choosing his opposite.
Yeah, it's really...
But I realize now that Spielberg was
cheesy and
going
all that,
into a
but I
no-win
liked it.
situation. If he did it in his own style, everyone would say, oh, that's not like Kubrick at all. If he tried to mimic his style, everybody would say, oh, he's not talented enough to mimic Kubrick. But maybe it wasn't about that. Maybe it was just about bringing a man's dream to life. A dream that this man obsessed over for years and years, and a really good friend didn't want to see go to waste. And even if it didn't come out that great, even if it was unfocused or cheesy, he still mimicked the director enough to show that he understood him. He still created some interesting conversations and ideas. And you know what? He fucking tried. He tried to the best of his abilities to properly represent a person who was very close to him. Which is more than I can say for anyone in this room. Maybe Kubrick would have done it better. Maybe he could have done it worse. Hell, it's totally possible for a great
We'll never
director
know,
to make a
because
bad
that's all we
film.
got.
But what nobody can deny is that Spielberg did his best to make a friend's dream a reality.
What more could you ask for?
And nobody, fucking nobody, can fault him for that.
Actually, they can.
Yeah, well, he's still fat.
Well, I guess it doesn't matter. All the world knows your evil little secrets anyway.
But how do we come back from this? How do we make them forget?
Well, maybe if you ask all the people on the internet over and over to forget, maybe, just maybe, your wish will come true.
Please forget. Please forget. Please forget. Please forget. Please forget.
Well, maybe the longing for dignity is the beginning of dignity. I'm a nostalgia critic. I remember it. And don't you forget.
Oh, Jesus, that's a creepy picture. You see that little
I don't
boy
think it's
picture
working.
that...
Let's try something more
that
positive.
boy with a face. It's like creepy, black and white. Ooh, like a horror movie or something. Alright, that's the end of the video. Jesus. Well, nearly. Coming up with the credits. Yeah, that one, you know, first time the TMZ jokes, you know, it's alright, but too much TMZ jokes. That one was a bit too much. Okay. Alright, that's the end of the video. So, yeah, artificial intelligence, not everyone's gonna enjoy it. There's a lot of non-logical moments. It doesn't really make sense. There's a lot of questions that go unanswered. But, you know, after all that, I still enjoy the movie. You know, I don't really sort of think about that. Because I like movies that you don't need to think, you know. Sometimes I do enjoy movies where you have to think about things. But there's sometimes I like movies where you don't have to use your brain. You know, you just sit there and just go... you're just dribbling like a vegetable watching it, like a zombie. Just consuming. But yeah, artificial intelligence for me, it was a good movie. It was a decent movie, very enjoyable. I've watched it over and over. Yeah, the ending was weird, strange. I remember the ending. It was bizarre and strange. It just doesn't make sense. I've always had a theory that the robot, you know, he's still down below in the water, sort of just dreaming or something like that. Maybe he's in 2,000 years, maybe his circuits are rotten or something like that. You know, after 2,000 years, maybe his circuitry is rotten, and that was sort of like a system error or something. You know, just something like that. Just then maybe that would have been better. You know, but I don't know. I don't know. Aliens coming down, talking to him. Like I said, it's just all so very bizarre. I'm just trying to find a better fucking story ending, because that was really sort of a bizarre ending. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the movie. I'm sorry, but I did. I still do. It's a long, dragged out movie and everything. But as for the episode, Nostalgia Critic, this episode, it was alright. It was too much TMZ jokes and all that. I think he needs to cut down on those, not just the TMZ jokes, the special stuff. I think he should leave all that sort of acting and performing in special episodes mostly, not in movie reviews and stuff like that. It's a bit of a change for me. Maybe I don't know. He's changing a bit. I'm starting to feel the nostalgia critic starting to change a bit. He's not focusing on the movie reviews. He's focusing on acting. And just adding all those cameos sort of style stuff, you know, the gang coming back together again. I just don't know. It just feels a bit different. You know, stick on topic. Pay attention to the movie review. Don't go off topic and talk about, you know, politics and shit like that. Just stay on topic. No, he wasn't talking about politics, but I'm just saying, you know, just stay tuned, stay focused on, you know, doing the review. Leave all that other stuff, the TMZ jokes and all that, on special episodes and stuff like that. That's where I feel it may be a little bit more appropriate, because I don't feel like it's mixing well. Maybe it was just me, but maybe I was just in a bad mood today or something like that. But it just felt off. You know, it just felt a little bit off. He needs to balance it a little bit. Maybe he's got to find a balance. But yeah, it just felt, it was more TMZ jokes than in the actual fucking review of the movie, which is a little bit shitty. But yeah, I'm sorry I'm ranting. But I just wanted to point that out. You know, I just want Nostalgia Critic to be good in the, you know, in the next coming episodes. But yeah, if you like this video, make sure to give it a like, comment down below, make sure to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.